Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to PWR Today, March 18th. Finally, Friday. It's the man they call Meathead. It's the man they refer to as Matthew Thomas, the M.O.T.S. Matthew on the streets. The gentleman squire, Matthew. Good morning.
Well, thank you, and thank you for welcoming me and all of our listening audience to the weekend, Meathead.
Hey, you know what? Welcome to the big time. Welcome to the big time. Do you remember that song? Miscommunication. It was part of WrestleMania 21. It was one of the themes. Big time.
You
Remember?
know what? I got back into wrestling with WrestleMania 20, and for whatever reason, I skipped 21, and then I've seen every other WrestleMania live, but 21 for some reason I did not purchase. I don't know what was wrong.
21 was cool because it had all the Hollywood vignettes.
Yeah.
You know, you had.
Now I watched the build to Mania that year, but I didn't purchase it for whatever reason.
Big Time was one of the two theme songs. And that was also, remember they did all the Hollywood vignettes like JBL being Jack Nicholson, in A Few Good Men, and John Cena being Tom Cruise. They had Austin being the Gladiator. My name is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'm about to unleash hell. Oh, you got to go back and watch that.
And in subsequent years, I've watched it. I just did
Kurt
not.
Angle and Christy Hemme doing the When Harry Met Sally orgasm scene in the restaurant.
I mean, that was a really, really good build. You know, WrestleMania Goes Hollywood was the moniker from what I recall.
Yes, it was.
And now, remind me, Meathead, was that our last WrestleMania not in a stadium?
I believe that was at the LA Forum.
Yeah,
it might have been the Staples Center.
Former Staples Center. Yeah. But I think that was it because the following.
22 was in Chicago.
Interesting.
22 was at the Allstate Arena.
Okay.
And then armpit of the building. Now 23 was at Ford
Detroit,
Field.
right? Yeah. Because 2022 would have been like Edge and Foley and the Flaming Table. That's right. Yep. I do remember watching that, and that was not.
That would have been opened up by the Boogeyman and Booker T.
That was the opening match to a Mania.
That also had Mickie James and Trish Stratus, that amazing women's division build.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, but you know what? 22 was probably the last one in a small building. Here's the thing. WrestleMania, Damien actually, Big D from Big D, got us tickets the day of. So there were still tickets available for a 20,000-seat building.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, how the times have changed, man. I mean, that was really.
Remember, the main event was John Cena and Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
With CM Punk hanging off of one of those cars.
Yeah, and then you had, and after that, that was, I feel like, the last little throes of WrestleMania not being this huge international destination. I mean, because in subsequent years, it became. Now you look at what we're talking about a decade and a half later. And you're talking about hopefully putting 100,000 people in the Dallas Stadium 2 nights in a row, which I don't know if they're going to pull that off or not, but that's the hopes now.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So, but let's talk about a little wrestling. Let's talk about a little news. But before we do that, Matthew, I know I was wearing my Irish Whip T-shirt yesterday for St. Patty's. What are you wearing today?
Well, I'm wearing nothing right now, but when I'm wearing clothes, it's Collar and Elbow, available exclusively at collarandelbowbrand.com. If you want to clothe yourself with
beach towel,
with the same thing I clothe myself with when I do clothe myself, head on over to collarandelbowbrand.com, enter promo code LindaK, LINDAKAY, save yourself 10%.
All right, Matthew Thomas. People are trying to eat their breakfast. They're on their way to work. I mean, you were setting it off just the wrong way, dude.
It's morning time, man. Who wants to wear a bunch of clothes bright and early in the morning?
I tell you, there was a band that did a really about 4 or 5 great songs in the late 90s, 2000s called Morning Wood. So if you're talking about not wearing anything and having a towel, maybe a little Morning Wood.
I mean, there you go.
Let's talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? Stone Cold, what? He was interviewed on the Rich Eisen show, and apparently Stone Cold is getting into ring shape. So in his promo for Kevin Owens, he said, "You could call it a fight, you could call it a match, you could call it an ass whooping. I don't care what you want to call it. I'm about to lay the smackdown on your candy ass." Obviously it wasn't Brock, but what he said was, "You can call it whatever you want. Kevin Owens is gonna get a mud hole stomped in him, and that's the bottom line." Is this going to be a match, an interview, a fight, a brawl? What's it going to be?
Here's what I think it's going to harken back to is Undertaker Cena. I don't think they want to announce it as a match because I don't know how long it's going to go, and I don't think they want people to feel like they're shortchanged and they have too much expectations on Stone Cold. I think Stone Cold will come out in a jeans and a t-shirt. I mean, traditional Stone Cold garb. And I think at some point they're going to get a ref down there and ring the bell. I think it's going to be a really quick match, and I think that it will feel like a nice value added as opposed to announcing a match right now and really, really setting those expectations up too high. That's the way I see it going.
And any match or any interaction between KO and Stone Cold is going to be the greatest hits. Yes. It's going to be a couple boots to the stomach. It's going to be a mud hole stomping in the corner, Thez press, a couple stunners, a Steve Weiser, and then let's call it a night.
And here's what I'm excited about, and I think there are people like me that fit this bill as well too. You know, with my when I've been going to events and whatnot, I've actually never been in the building with Stone Cold before. This will be my first time in a building with Stone Cold.
On Austin 316 Day, I sadly was reminded again of the building I should have been in, which would have been the King of the Ring 96 in Milwaukee. Linda Kay was there. The man they call Meathead was not.
Yeah, well, you know, you can watch it with the convenience of Peacock now. So you know, it's kind of like you're there.
Matthew, do you know the story? I literally had the tickets in my hand the night before.
Yep.
I was DJing, handing them out.
You said I got better things to do. I got places to go, people to see.
Unbelievable. I'm sitting here. I mean, I'm sitting here 26 years later, literally 26 years later, still pissing and moaning about it. So, but it is what it is. Let's move on to another story. The WWE announced the latest Performance Center class with a couple of very familiar names. Now, we've been able to announce this a few times. There's some names that are on there, like Fallon Henley and Kayla Inlay, who have already appeared on the NXT 2.0 brand. This class also has the former and inaugural Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, Roxy. And, ladies and gentlemen, the daughter of Santino Marella, Bianca Corelli.
Yeah, Santino's daughter makes sense. If you're a former title holder from another place, I get the fact that, you know, WWE's got their style or whatever, but based on a lot of kind of what we've been seeing with NXT recently with the way the new format's going, it still kind of boggles my mind that you take a former title holder from another, and I'll call ROH a major company. I know it's technically categorized as an independent, but I consider it a major company, and you know, you're kind of starting from scratch in the Performance Center. It just
this isn't brand new though, Matthew. They put Bobby Roode through the ring.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah, he got the pomp and circumstance when he showed up to NXT at one of the takeovers, but I mean, they run him through the gauntlet. Kevin Owens was a former Ring of Honor champion as Kevin Steen, and he got put into it too. All those guys get put through it. Now, the way it used to be back in the day, think about Chris Jericho when he debuted in 1999. Had his main event feud for a couple months, and then they broke him down, made him work his way back up. So, I mean, he worked with Road Dogg, he worked with X-Pac for a couple of years at that point. Then he worked his way into Intercontinental. Then he worked his way into tags. Then he found his way into the first ever Undisputed Championship.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to look at it. And I guess the only exception in this whole tenure really has been AJ Styles.
AJ Styles, the last and probably the exception for the last 10 to 15 years, is the last person to debut directly on the main roster. And, I mean, AJ Styles had proved it. But what would you have thought if AJ Styles was brought into NXT and made to run the gauntlet?
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
I mean, because think about it. There's a gentleman by the name of L.A. Knight. Yeah. Who was the Impact Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
guy can't even sniff the main roster yet.
No, and I think that is a sad, sad mistake.
Let's go over to SmackDown. Tonight on SmackDown, Brock Lesnar is going to collide with Roman Reigns ahead of WrestleMania. Matthew, we are just over 2 weeks away, 2 weeks and 1 day away from WrestleMania. Are you feeling it yet? I asked Linda if she's packed. Are you packed yet? Are you ready to go?
No, I'm not packed. I've got to purchase some more clothes. Because from the start of this,
I feel like you should get some collar and elbow.
Yeah, so no, I've actually got to pack for another trip prior to packing to WrestleMania. I'm kind of on tour here the next few weeks.
Hey, I side note, for that other trip that you're going on, do you plan on bringing any meat? Because I know you're going to be getting a lot of potatoes.
Yeah. I know there's going to be a lot of potatoes being consumed. So that's really what I'm looking forward to, man. I'm going to see what they got to offer, man. I'm a big potato fan. I like them mashed. I like them scalloped. I like them fried via the French method. I like them shoestringed. I like them
crispy and the
crisp.
chips.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love me some chips. So yeah, I'm really looking forward.
You're a big fan of buffalo chips as well.
What the home of potatoes can do. Maybe, I'm not sure.
All right, let's talk about Lesnar and Roman Reigns. We've had them touch, right? That's the whole thing with a big mega, main event. You want to keep those two away from each other, not touching each other, interacting, but never getting into physical brawl. We've had them touch before. Roman Reigns attacked Brock Lesnar at Madison Square Garden, beat him down to the point where he stood on top of him, held both belts, and says, "Acknowledge me, Brock Lesnar." Should they brawl tonight?
I think we've got one big pull apart before WrestleMania, whether it's this week or next week or whenever we get it. I think we're going to get it at some point.
That pull apart should be right before the bell gongs, and we get the Hall of Fame starting off the Friday right before WrestleMania. Okay.
Maybe they brawl during the duration of the Hall of Fame. You'll just eventually cut away. They just brawl around the arena the entire time.
That wouldn't bother me at all, because the Hall of Fame can be a tad stuffy. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many Hall of Fames you've been to. I've been to 3, I think. The Hall of Fame can be a tad stuffy and a tad long, but now that we know that it's going to be more than just the Undertaker, we've had Sharmell be announced as a Hall of Famer. Who else has been announced for the Hall of Fame?
We've had Sharmell announced. There's the rumor of the Steiners. It hasn't been confirmed yet.
Vader.
That's right.
So, either this is a very tiny Hall of Fame or they better get cracking. Yeah. And they don't have any tag teams yet. So I would assume that this coming Monday, we're going to announce the Steiner brothers coming into the Hall of Fame.
Very possible.
So we'll get a little bit more build between Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville. Obviously, we have the new Intercontinental Champion, Ricochet. He's got his program as well. I assume the Women's Tag Team Champions will be distracted and lose another singles match somewhere. And much, much more. Let's make our way to Rampage. If you're still up by this point, because Rampage will start at possibly 11:30, possibly midnight on TNT, because it has to wait for the final NCAA first round. Actually, it'll be Friday, so it'll be first round game to be over. Could be the Badgers game still going. Could be any other teams still going. But AEW Rampage coming from San Antonio, Texas again. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Matthew, what are your thoughts on having such an amazing match, such a energy draining match, such as Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in a cage for the women's title? Having to have 4 more matches after that for live TV coming up after.
It's tough, man. If you had the ability to, I know they do occasionally run them on separate nights live. I think this would have been one of the ones to run on a separate night live, because that was a great, great crowd. I just don't know how well that crowd can sustain after that.
Well, here's the order of the matches as they're going to go. We're not going to give you spoilers, but we do have the results in front of us. Again, we're not going to tell you who wins or who loses, but it'll be Darby Allin taking on the Butcher, Red Velvet against Layla Hirsch, Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King. They will go against Bear Country and Fuego del Sol. And then finally, Keith Lee and Max Castor. Matthew, I got to tell you, Anthony Bowen's line at Keith Lee during Dynamite. Big ass Cleveland Jr. looking ass. That I lost it for that. I mean, I had to rewind it to hear it again. Then right after that, kind of a throwaway line, but Max Castor goes, "Wait, that guy raps? Doesn't that guy rap?" They were talking about
Yep.
Strickland. Yeah.
Yep.
Your thoughts on those 4 matches for Rampage?
I mean, you're starting strong with Darby Allin, and you probably get Sting, so you're trying to pop the crowd there. And you're bookending it with Keith Lee. So I mean, you're throwing some star power
and his
out
Cleveland
there.
Jr. looking ass.
You're throwing some star power out there, so they're doing the best they can. And that was a hot crowd, so hopefully they can stay hot for the duration of this.
So I don't know if you saw this, Matthew. One more thing I want to talk about before we get out of here for the week. AEW has a bracket for the best theme music going on right now. In the first round, Adam Cole's taking on Darby Allin. All About the Boom and against Darby Allin's music. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the only person that's got anything, and I hope they're on opposite sides of the bracket, the only person that's got anything for Adam Cole's music is Hook's music.
Okay. I don't know. I think that Adam Cole's music, All About the Boom, is going to blow all the way through the finals. They're going to be that number 1 seed that shows they're a number 1 seed.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, Matthew, that is the week as we know it. Now, a little programming note here, folks. Coming up next week, it's going to be all flipped around. So next week next week Monday and next week Tuesday, the 21st and 22nd, you're getting more Matthew Thomas.
Yes. Oh my goodness. The listening audience, I just thought about this. They're going to have 5 consecutive
5 shows in a row of Matthew Thomas.
This is a very Matthew Thomas centric PWR arc is what it is.
And then at the end of the 5, they're basically going to say, all right, that's enough of that shit. And then on the 23rd, 24th, and we are still up in the air on the 25th, but we're going to get Linda Kay joining us.
So there was an episode of King of the Hill where Hank caught Bobby smoking, and he said, "Oh, you like smoking?" So he made him smoke the card. These next few days, it's going to be quintessentially smoking the carton with Matthew Thomas. That's right. You're going to take a good thing that you think you like and just get absolutely sick of it. Oh, yeah.
That's what it's like listening to the man they call Meathead. I mean, on the 5 days a week, because, we talk about how, we get a break from Matthew and we get a break from Linda. You guys don't get a break from the man they call Meathead. He's on 5 days a week. I don't know how you guys deal. I really don't. So, for Matthew Thomas, for Linda Kay, the man they call Meathead, we will talk to you guys Monday morning. Folks, we are 2 weeks away from WrestleMania, and the content just keeps getting hotter. So long, everyone.